You guys know what time it is. Get strapped in and ready for some good times. This is the Blowed Out Podcast. What is up, everybody? It is your favorite Fattywithanatty. Welcome to the show. Not gonna lie, I have had my ass kicked tonight, guys. So if I sneak in a yawn or two, I apologize. They figured we had a nice long weekend off, so it was time to give the old fat guy a run for his money at the warehouse. Anyhow, speaking of which, hope everyone had a fantastic Memorial Day weekend. Hope everybody was safe. Of course, never forgetting the reason. But I try and do that all year long. So, again, hope everybody was good. Hope nobody got too sunburnt. All that good stuff. Hope it worked out good for everybody. Should we dive right in with talks of non-disclosure agreements? Sorry, that's the latest one of the day that got me rolling. But I did hear it's going to be voluntary. Well, each branch or each department, apparently according to OPM, will have the option as to whether or not they implement it. Well, if that is the case, then what the hell is the point of it in the first place? However, I don't disagree. A lot of places have absolutely no reason for an NDA. Guys, this is dumb shit. This is justifying someone's job to process them all. Or, I don't know. I think this is grasping at straws by the administration in a, quote, effort to curb people from talking to the media. Well, I'm sorry, but it's not going to curb anyone from talking to the media. It's just going to give you a leg to stand on if you try and fire them for it after the fact. They're still going to talk all the shit. This is just dumb. Like I said, that's the same as like the local gas station making somebody sign one, so they don't blab to the media about why gas prices are so high. I mean, come on. Everybody already knows this shit. All the departments that have a reason for an NDA already have one, and it's not an NDA. It's called a clearance, and you'll get a lot worse than a slap on the wrist if you go and screw that up. So, dumb in my opinion, but we all know that that's all it is one fat man's opinion. I don't know how things are in your neck of the woods, but if you happen to hear, I don't know, what sounds like a typhoon in the background, it's because it's blowing like hell here in northern Utah. Luckily, not too cold. I mean, it's a little brisk just with the wind at, 10:30, pretty sure this says 10:50, but I can't read it. So, anyhow, basically 11 o'clock at night here in northern Utah. Other than that, it's been pretty nice. I mean, it's cloudy and breezy, but I'll take it. It beats 105 and just blistering. Like I said, I don't know how things are where you guys are at. Apparently, the southeastern part of the country is getting beat up on flash flood warnings. Well, as much as I hate rain, we could sure use some of it. So if you want to send some of it our way, minus, the flood part or the hurricane typhoon wind part, we'll take some. I figured Spencer Cox would be praying for it by now, but he's probably too busy warding off all the folks who are pissed about his new data center. Well, him and old Chelsea Rochambeau for who's going to take the hit on owning all the land next door and the freeway access. Whoopsie. Why do these guys And it's not just guys. Sorry. Why do these folks, these politicians, seem to forget or just be ignorant to the fact that somebody's going to find this shit out every time? Every time. If you bought all the land next door to your new little pet project that also conveniently holds the easement that will provide freeway access, and then you're going to just go out and pander to billionaires to bring this shit to the state, you would think eventually they would get smart enough to realize that they're going to get caught. They're going to get found out. Now, do I necessarily have a problem with the data center? No. I probably should. And it is a huge, huge footprint. But at the same time, there's really nothing out there. I mean, for those of you guys who don't know where it's going to be in Box Elder County in northern Utah, there is jack shit all out there. I mean, is it beautiful in its own right? Sure. High Plains Desert. Okay, yeah, you're right. Coyotes and jackrabbits and ticks and, I don't know, probably a lizard or three. But other than that, and other than taking up huge amounts of resources, i.e. water and natural gas, and apparently having a huge heat signature, I don't really see all that much problem with it. Again, that's just me, and I think a lot of things have been overhyped on both sides. Apparently, they are working on getting some more transparency and an honest-to-God, research, baseline for what it will actually hurt or hinder or any of those things. So it'll be interesting to see. Other than just a big fat chunk of change and a win for some politician, I don't know. You drive through the middle of Nevada, western Nevada, like outside of Reno. You can't throw a rock and not hit a giant facility of some sort. So this was coming sooner or later. I guess. Maybe I just don't know enough about it. And in all fairness, I don't. So maybe I'm a little naive to all of it still just because I haven't done my homework on it. So if that's really the case, then I apologize. But other than that, it's in the middle of nowhere. And, water-wise, if they can figure it out, let it rip. They would have to figure it out if it was half the size or if it was 3 times the size. It's in the middle of the damn desert. They're going to have to figure that part out no matter what. And everybody's worried about the Great Salt Lake. They're not going to be taking it from the Great Salt Lake. Saltwater's going to trash all of it. So unless they're going to bring in giant desalinization units that would technically help us in the long run, I don't know. Again, like I said, in all fairness, I should do some more homework on it. But there again, like everything else, it's just my opinion. And all of this stuff, technically, I'm nobody. So in the grand scale of things, it is what it is. But other than, I don't know, like I said, other than what I've explained in a drain on natural resources, I really don't see that big of a deal with it. But I will do some homework and we'll speak about it further at a later date. How about that? Much like always, at least again in my opinion, I think there are much bigger fish that almost didn't come out to fry. Especially when we're still dealing with all this Iranian shit. Oh, for the love of God, can we just be done with it yet? Either smoke them out or pack it in and bring it home. The shit is dumb at this point, it's all, you lost a lot of credibility as far as flexing, in my opinion, about, well, I don't know, 60 days ago. So again, either finish smoking them out or call it a loss and bring all our shit home, because this tit for tat shit just ain't working. And all it's doing is perpetuating gas prices and grocery prices and everything else being through the roof. And frankly, everyone's sick of it. And if you were just looking for a good way to lose the midterms, I kind of think you've found it. I mean, I could give a shit less, but this is probably how you're going to pull it off if that's what you're aiming to do, sir. Call me crazy. Now, do I really think that's going to happen? Not necessarily, but I can tell you here and now that anyone with a septum ring or blue hair or any of that kind of stuff, not saying those are bad things if you have them, but I don't think the administration is winning anyone over that claims or leans or anything left or liberal. Again, just outside looking in, I think you are rapidly sealing your fate, again, from this side of the fence. So if you don't care, keep it up, because, if that's the case, it's looking like a win, if that's the way you were trying to pull it out. Again, one fat man's opinion. I've just been perusing a bunch of stories about the Strait of Hormuz and how the U.S. Navy doesn't think or has indicated that we are not capable of controlling it, and all these other things. And of course, like we always talk about, who knows what to actually believe. But between the smoke shows and the dealings with Netanyahu and Putin just kind of doing, what he does, I, again, realize this is a bit out of place as far as the topic goes. But again, we need to stop with the fuckery and just either handle things or just come home. That's it. I know I mentioned it earlier, but if we're, claiming that all these outposts, basically, or Iranian regime, coastal regions are preventing us, or the world for that matter, from reopening, but they're preventing the world from getting the Strait of Hormuz back to a pre-conflict state, then we either need to go in there and turn it all to glass so that they can no longer control what isn't actually theirs. That's the fun part that a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people don't understand that the Strait of Hormuz doesn't actually belong to Iran. It doesn't belong to us. It is an international waterway. It is an established trade route that doesn't belong to either of us. So the fact that we're pulling this horse shit, trying to say that, we're going to reopen it, or you guys can't control it, or we can't control it, or, like I said, this is all just tit for tat stuff. I didn't realize that all this recently, and I may have, although I choose to be just out living life, coincides with the pilgrimage to Mecca, which is fine if that's what you want to do, but why are we pausing for that? Like, that seems dumb to me. If I was a country and I was trying to stand my ground on some shit that I wasn't able to, then no one's going to pause for me to go to church. So, again, why haven't we just smoked this whole thing out? And now you've got Malaysia and China and all these Asian countries, or Eastern Asia. I don't know. It's a huge, huge area that I honestly don't fully comprehend the geopolitical grasp. Sorry for the super long pause there, but there's a lot of stuff there that we don't fully comprehend, or at least I don't. And some of you may, but I don't fully comprehend all of it because it is so vast. However, like I said, the Strait of Hormuz does not belong to them. So if they're impeding all these global, trade ships and things from occurring in that strait, then they need to be taken out or handled. And if they want to continue to double down on their stance, then everyone else that's being affected should double down on the fact that they aren't allowed to. And just be done with it. Locally, gas is down just a hair. But that's kind of like saying that, even though my house was swept away in a flood, at least it only went down the block, because down 10 cents is still up $2. So it's not really a win-win. I don't know. Honestly, like I said, I'm just having a hard time with the whole thing, and why at this point we're still trying to be diplomatic. Yes, I understand why in the grand scheme of things, but if they're going to continue not being diplomatic, then why are we? Why do we have to be the bigger guy? At some point, and it's not even being a bully, in my opinion. At some point, if someone needs to get punched in the mouth because they continue doing dumb shit, then somebody needs to punch them in the mouth. Like, at some point, it just can't continue, right? I mean, maybe I'm crazy for thinking that. I don't know. Anyhow, I'm going to go outside and see if the trees are still standing. I mean, none of them have crashed through the roof yet, so I guess that's a bonus, right? And we'll be back shortly, guys. Hey folks, Ryan here, aka the Fattywithanatty. Are you a business owner or marketing director looking to explore advertising on the Blowed Out podcast? As we prepare to enter our 4th season, we've gained a listening audience in over 125 cities spread across 21 countries worldwide. That includes a very large listening base right here in northern Utah. To find out how we can help your business grow or to discuss pricing and frequency options, email us at blowedoutpodcast@gmail.com and be sure to include marketing in the subject line. Again, that's blowedoutpodcast@gmail.com, subject marketing. And we're back, just like that. And to wrap up all that god-awful nonsense we were talking about before the break, I fully admit that I don't completely comprehend all the ramifications of going one way or the other. All I know is that these things can't just continue to carry on the way they have been for months now, putting not only the United States, but a large percentage of the globe in dire straits, or not necessarily even dire straits, but in financial destitute. They just can't keep going the way they're going endlessly, is my point. So, again, sooner or later, something's going to have to change. Something has to give. Something has to break. If that means that we have to relent and say we gave her hell and come on home, then so be it. Unfortunately, you and I both know that that's never going to happen. So, man, much like a lot of other things, guys, I don't see a good way out of this. But sooner or later, something's going to have to give so that we can all get a little bit of relief and some folks in the area can maybe sleep a little better. I realize that in that neck of the woods, there are a lot of people who haven't been able to get a decent night's sleep in a long time. That is another problem, and we've talked about this many times before. That shit in some of those places has been going on for way longer than we've give a damn. And I can't stop everybody. Who am I kidding? I can't stop anybody, but there are certain things in certain times when we need to pick our battles. 20 years ago, even 30 years ago, you could not probably have convinced me to say that, especially depending on the battle. But now it's time. Older, wiser. I know now that I need to pick my battles just as we do, and the sooner, the better. In a bit more local stuff, our fantastic governor, Cox, here in Utah, has put all 29 counties in Utah on state of emergency for drought, which is interesting because I kind of feel like it's been my whole life that we've been in a drought. I mean, we're high plains desert. Yes, there have been a few years that we've had plenty of water, 82, 83. We had a lot. I want to say 91, 92, something like that. We had a good fair amount. But not so much this year. Boy, we are dry as a popcorn fart here this year. But I did want to say, I was thinking about this earlier, because my teenagers are going to want to go play in the local waters where there is some. So, a little public service announcement. If you guys are going to go mess around in lakes and rivers and things like that, wear a life jacket, guys. I probably shouldn't have to say that, but I remember being young and not wearing one. But now I realize that between currents and, big, stupid fish that the DNR has introduced to get rid of invasive species can take a big old chunk out of your leg or take one of your toes off because they are ginormous and have mouths full of teeth. So, it's always a good idea if you're worried about bleeding because you have had a toe ripped off or a current or some dumb thing, you're not going to be able to focus on swimming. So it's never a bad idea to wear a life jacket, guys, at least in those types of situations. I certainly don't advocate wearing one at the local pool unless you can't swim, but, just food for thought. Also, had a recent string locally trucks and trailers just flipping over on the freeway because they don't actually check as to whether you or your vehicle can handle these things when you rent or buy them. Typically more so if you rent. But you could just wander into a dealership and buy yourself a camper because you would like to go out and explore the great outdoors in your Subaru or your Jeep or, I don't know, whatever small vehicles that, although says it's rated for 2,000 pounds of towing capacity or whatever, does not mean that if you don't know how to stop that big girl from swaying, you're going to land on your side or upside down across 3 lanes of traffic. So another PSA is please do your homework. And if you've never in your life pulled a trailer, let alone a camp trailer, maybe do a little bit of homework. Find somebody to give you a couple lessons. I don't know. But man, there are people stacking them up left and right, guys. So please be super careful out there, guys. You know, I have a tendency of taking that stuff for granted. I've been literally driving since I was 7. Right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm not saying it was right, but right, wrong, or indifferent, I have decades of knowledge and, all these things. But they don't check those things when you just go and buy one. They don't give a damn because they're selling it. They're not going to ask you if you know how to tow this boat or this camper or this trailer or back it up or any of those things. So please, guys, do yourselves a favor and learn what you're doing before you just run out and buy something and jump into it. And God forbid something bad happens and you hurt yourself or even worse, somebody else. Please, it's never a bad idea. It can go south real quick for anybody out there that's versed in towing a big trailer or even a little trailer. You guys know that once that thing starts to whipping, there's only certain things you can do to stop it, and panicking is obviously the worst thing you can do. So let's ask a friend, ask a family member, whatever. Let's get some lessons. Let's get a little training, at least a rough idea of what to do if, God forbid, it does start swinging on you. Anyhow, don't want to see anybody get hurt this summer. We have not, oh no, actually I take that back, Memorial Day. We have entered into the 101 critical days of summer. And as you guys know, shit'll turn on you real quick. Anything from heat exhaustion to drownings, all kinds of god-awful stuff, and nobody wants to see any of that. So let's take care of that, shall we? There, I've done my piece, right? Also, bikes. Good Lord, almost forgot bikes. Please, everybody keep your eyes peeled. Same thing. Turns out that you can just walk into a dealership and buy yourself a motorcycle and have absolutely no clue what you're doing other than, I see it every day and it makes me insane. I've been riding the majority of my life in one form or another on 2 wheels of some sort, and it's real easy to think that, I got a fast bike, I'll just weave in and out of traffic and nobody can touch me. Man, they are stacking up left and right. So please, guys, do yourself a favor. Take an MSF course, Motorcycle Safety Foundation. They are readily available. They are typically not a lot of money, and they are a wealth of knowledge. And for everyone else, please be super safe. Keep your eyes peeled for these guys that God may or may not have any idea how to ride whatever they've strapped themselves to. I hate to say it, but the majority of the folks I see on a daily basis give a lot of us a bad name, so try not to be one of those kids, huh? Guys, come on. I would like to retain each and every one of you as a listener and, possibly pick up some more, but got to be safe, guys. And everybody always lets their inhibitions go as soon as the top comes down on the Jeep or the convertible, or everyone's got cabin fever. So let's be really diligent this season and try and lose as few as humanly possible. I really hate saying that because I feel like I just sound like old unk over here being Buzz Killington. But there was a time in my life that I ran a couple different tow trucks for a couple of different tow companies, and I can't tell you how many times I had to pick one up, I was going to say in a perfect world, but I picked many of them up out of the road that luckily the riders survived, but I also had several where they did not. Unfortunately, one time here in Weber County, Utah, I got called to one, and as I rounded the corner, I saw the caution tape, and I instantly knew between that and how they dispatched me that someone wasn't going home to their family. And I am here to tell you that you have not lived until you have literally used a snow shovel to pick up chunks of gray matter and skull and random bits and pieces of body parts and a jean jacket to scoop into the bag, because that's about all that's left. And then what a lot of people don't know is then the fire truck pulls up and they get out and they take this, it just looks like it could have been anything really, some sort of container of powder. It almost looks like they're wandering through the street, and this was in, middle of August, late August, so we're good and hot. We're 100 degrees every bit of, and the fireman gets out or climbs down off the engine and starts walking down the road to all these scorched, god-awful black, scorched puddles of blood, and starts sprinkling this powder on there. And if you've never seen it, it's kind of a trip, because then it turns into, foot-tall pink foam. And it's basically powdered hydrogen peroxide. And then they come along with a push broom and they scrub at it a little bit, and then they just cruise along and wash all that right down the storm drain. And that will really kind of change your outlook on things. The first time, I hate to say it, I'm a bit calloused and used to it after all these years now, but yeah, you haven't lived until you've had to do that. So it doesn't make me feel nearly as bad to be or to sound like Buzz Killington when I've seen and done things like that. It's not something that you ever want to have to witness, let alone go through, and God forbid, receive that phone call. So, again, let's all be safe. Have a great summer. Now that we're kicking it off, on this week after Memorial Day. And at least for now, that's all I'll keep saying about that. Let's everybody try and get home to those who matter, huh? It'll be better, I promise. Well, guys, at least for now, the trees are still standing. That's a good thing, right? And I didn't get the 2 fawns on my way home that were about the size of, well, I don't know, studio dog Ganesha, standing right in the middle of the damn lane. Just, I don't know, probably playing Chutes and Ladders or something. But luckily, they jumped right out at me, and I was able to swerve. So keep your eyes peeled for critters also. But I suppose that's been enough rambling for me. I could keep on trucking with just, random stuff, but I figured I'd take this chance to remind everybody to give our sponsors and partners a shout. Evolution Design Works, Fine Finishes Inc., R&R Machine. We've got a gang of them. If you guys would like to know more, go ahead and search for their socials. If you need to get a hold of us, you know how. blowedoutpodcast@gmail.com or on our socials. Give us a shout. We've got a couple of things hopefully coming up here in the next couple of weeks as far as some special guests. And we're going to try and squeeze in a shop episode or 2. So keep your ears, peeled for those things. And in the meantime, you guys know the drill. Keep your heads on a swivel. Try and be good to one another, and all that good mess. Sorry, I started zoning out there, but until next time, guys, I love each and every one of you and appreciate you, and we'll talk to you guys real soon. Cheers!